Welcome viewers, Dr. JWA, the immigrant jurisdiction question. I'm basing this off the Australian Royal Commission yesterday, where pro-Palestinian representative lawyers and barristers, or whatever they are, counsel, what it appears to be of that nature, appeared on the 4th of the 8th, 2026 in the Australian Royal Commission into Antisemitism. And the Royal Commission was allowed to drift from domestic national interest into international wars. So beneath this transcript lies a constitutional question extending far beyond anti-Semitism. It concerns the meaning of Australian citizenship itself. When a person migrates to Australia, by what principles should they be treated? Should they primarily be encountered as Australians? Or should they continue carrying responsibility for the wars, governments, political conflicts, and historical grievances of the nation from which they came? That question reaches beyond the Jewish community in Australia. It applies equally to every Australian whose family originated elsewhere. Should Australians of Ukrainian heritage answer for Ukraine? Should Australians of Russian heritage answer for Russia? Should Australians of Chinese heritage answer for decisions of the Chinese government? Should Australians of Iranian heritage answer for Tehran? Should Australians of Palestinian heritage answer for Hamas? Should Australians of Israeli heritage answer for decisions made by the Israeli government? The constitutional instinct of liberal democracy has traditionally been clear. Australian citizenship individualises responsibility. It does not internationalise it. A citizen is judged according to their own conduct, not according to inherited nationality, not according to ancestral conflict, not according to wars occurring beyond Australian sovereignty. And so I therefore raise a broader institutional question. If a Royal Commission established to investigate anti-Semitism in Australia requires an Australian witness to explain the conduct of a foreign government and what constitutional principle limits the same expectation being applied to every other immigrant community in Australia, if that isn't divisive, to say the least, and destructive, then what is? The issue is therefore much larger than these questions surrounding the Middle Eastern wars between the State of Israel and Hamas. It concerns whether migration into Australia marks the beginning of equal Australian citizenship, or whether migrants continue carrying the political inheritance of their countries of origin into Australia public institutions and should be judged thereby. I mean, somebody needs to apologise for what's happened in the Royal Commission yesterday, because it's opened up the opportunity for people to judge people based on what their country's doing. Can you imagine treating Germans based on what happened in the Holocaust? And this distinction matters because citizenship is intended to transform legal identity. The Australian constitutional tradition has generally proceeded from a simple proposition. People migrate to Australia to become Australians under Australian law. They do not migrate in order to remain perpetual representatives of foreign conflicts. And my transcript therefore leaves one question hanging over the entire Royal Commission on Anti-Semitism and Social Cohesion inquiry. When does Australia begin? Is it at the border? Or does every overseas conflict continue following Australians long after they have made Australia their home? I ask and challenge you to answer this question, because what happened in the Australian Royal Commission on Anti-Semitism and Social Cohesion yesterday slid so far out of moral integrity, it proved that in some measure of degree, the divisiveness and division that is driving a covert agenda, some kind of covert agenda, is alive and well. Because if it can penetrate into such a high level attempt to disintegrate anti-Semitism into Australia, then we're in big trouble, because now we've got the legitimacy and which can be taken from this to just mark people based on what their country of origin has done, is doing, and intends to do. And that is not unity. That is really, that's causing domestic psychological war.